morning, whatever time it is for you. Some days feel earlier than others. Feels really early for daylight savings. We can get used to that. But we're here, gonna get warm. And we're in California here, and I'm scraping ice off my car this morning. Thanks. You'll be alright, okay? Well, we're going to get started. Make sure we're set up here. And I'm going to start lying down on your back if that's comfortable. Scooch a little closer to me today. Good morning. Thanks for saying hey. If you're there and want to say hey, go ahead in the chat. Good to feel that good energy virtually. All right, let's see how the sound goes today. All right, so we'll get started in Shavasana, lying down on your back. You'll be able to see the sunrise here through these two windows. Should be nice. Should be nice. All right. So we're doing a little bit of a breath work and stretch today. Mainly stretching through the back and the inner thighs. Sort of go hand in hand, trying to stretch through the back, get a lot of folds and some leg stretches too. So, goes hand in hand. As always, do what you can and take my offerings for what they are an offering. So, take any shape, any modification that you need at any point. This is your own practice, so make it your own. And with that, if you haven't already, come down to lying down on your back. We're just going to do a little check-in. Just a little check-in with yourself. As we start to breathe together. So getting comfortable here. You don't have to lie down on your back if that's not comfortable. You can take any position you'd like. But here, feeling whatever's touching the ground, really ground down into it. Feeling your back heavy on the ground. Grounding down. Letting the earth support you here. And just notice what's going on in your mind. Don't try to change it, just notice. Can you observe yourself? Can you observe your mind? With just a little dissociation so that you don't get caught up in it yourself. And if you're lying on your back here and you would like to bring the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide, making a diamond shape with your legs, maybe inching those heels closer towards your butt. If you want a nice stretch here, maybe it's through the hips, maybe through the thighs. If it's uncomfortable, you don't have to take this position. You can stay where you are. Here we're going to start breathing deeper, breathing a little bit more consciously. If you'd like to put a hand on your belly or your chest, or you can have your hands down by your sides, or more out to a T. Really finding a place where you can be comfortable and feel like you can expand through your chest and your belly. So we'll be doing just a few rounds of box breathing, where we inhale for a count. We'll do a count of 4, inhaling for a count of 4, holding at the top, retaining the breath in for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 4, and holding the breath out for a count of 4. And then after each round, we'll take a little recovery breath. And you can take a deep breath in, or you can just take a normal breath. But just take one breath after each cycle, just as a little recovery breath. So if you're ready, inhaling and exhaling through the nose here, if you can. Inhaling for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding it in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then take a recovery breath of your choice. Inhaling maybe through the nose, open mouth, maybe exhale. We'll just do 2 more rounds like that. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. And holding the breath out for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then your breath of choosing, in and out. Last round. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding it in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. And holding it out for 4, 3, 2, 1. And then let your breath come naturally. You can do whatever recovery breath you would like. And then sticking with really full breaths here through our practice, seeing if you can fully expand through the chest, even the sides and the back on your inhales. And then your choice, if you'd like to cultivate some calmness, having slow exhales, or if you need to release some heat or some energy, you can have shorter exhales. As you're ready, if you had the soles of the feet together, start stretching your legs out, coming to your back if you're not already, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Start bending the knees to the sky and planting the soles of your feet on the mat behind your hips. Pressing your feet into the ground here. And then start to bring your knees into your chest. You can wrap your arms around your thighs or your shins. And just give yourself a little hug here. Maybe rocking side to side. Giving yourself a little Massage along the back, if that feels good. And then hugging the left knee in, straighten your right leg out along the mat. Keeping your leg engaged here and actively reaching through the heel, flexing those right toes up to the sky. Keep hugging that left knee into your chest. And then let the left knee fall out towards your left armpit. And then maybe even further closer to the ground. You can keep that knee in close to your body or let it fall down towards your hip. Maybe you put your right palm on your right hip and hold that hip and leg down so you feel a nice stretch here, maybe through the left hip or the left thigh. Holding when you feel a good stretch for you. I'm just taking one breath here. And then bringing that knee slowly back up to your armpit, and then back in through your center. Go ahead and bring that right knee back into your chest. Maybe wiggling again, rocking side to side, or a few circles with your knees on the ceiling. And then stretch your left leg out long along the mat, keeping it engaged here. Flexing your left toes up to the ceiling, reaching through that left heel, and keeping that left hip and thigh on the ground if you can. Reaching that right knee in towards your chest, and then over towards your right armpit. And then maybe a little bit further down towards the ground. Maybe keeping that right knee close to your body, maybe letting it fall down towards your hip. Maybe placing your left palm on your left hip to keep it glued to the mat. Breathe in here. Always support your right knee or thigh with your right hand, supporting it to stop it wherever needed. And then as you're ready, bring that right knee back in towards your chest. Hug that left knee in towards your chest. Give yourself one more squeeze. Maybe bringing the shoulders and the head off the ground and hugging everything in. And then start maybe rocking and rolling along your spine. You can always roll to one side. We're going to meet in a seated position. Comfortable seated pose. Sitting tall, maybe crossing your legs at the ankles or at the shins, if that's comfortable. You can always come to sitting on your knees. And finding a long spine here. Seeing if you can stack your shoulders over your hips. Finding a long spine here. And we're just going to do a few rounds of seated cat-cow, but we're going to do the awkward cat-cow, where we inhale into cow and inhale into cat. So our exhales are coming back to this place of a long spine. So as you're ready, at the bottom of your next exhale, sitting tall. As you start to inhale, use your hands on your knees to help reach your chest forward. Inhaling, expanding through the chest and the belly. Maybe looking up. And then as you exhale, just coming back to that long spine, sitting up tall. At the bottom of that next exhale, sitting tall. And as you inhale, start rounding your back to the back. Maybe looking down into your back. Inhaling into the back body here. And then exhaling, coming back to that long spine position. You can do that on your own, at your own pace. Inhaling your chest forward, reaching forward, expanding through the front of the body. Exhaling, sitting tall. Inhaling, rounding through the back. Inhaling into the back body. And exhaling, coming back through a long spine, seated position. Inhaling, chest forward, expanding. Maybe reaching to drawing those shoulder blades closer together. Exhaling through a long spine. And inhaling, rounding through the back. Maybe looking down. And exhaling, coming back to your long spine. We'll do that just one more time with each pose at your own pace. Inhaling to your seated cow. Chest forward. Exhaling through a long spine, seated tall. And then inhaling, rounding back into your cat pose. And then exhaling, coming to your seated position. And then as you're ready, you're going to roll over onto hands and knees. You can just roll over your knees, or just come to the side and flip over if your knees are feeling sensitive today. And coming into a tabletop position, all fours, hands and knees, whatever you call it. And then just notice how your body feels here and make any adjustments as needed. I like to have my hands just a little bit wider than shoulder width distance and my fingers spinning out. So I have very tight shoulders. But making any adjustments in your position here that you feel like you have a long spine and you feel really stable. So classically, we want the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees. Stacking the joints is supposed to be less work for the muscles. But if that doesn't work for you, taking whatever variation works. And we're just going to go do the same thing as we did in the seated cat-cow, but in all fours. So really taking time here to feel your head, the crown, the top of your head, reaching away from your tailbone, noticing the natural curves in the spine, but feeling length through your spine, and knowing that this place is going to be where you come back to. This is your exhale home for your cat-cow only on the inhales. And as you're ready, at the bottom of your next exhale, start to inhale, reaching that chest forward. Maybe your belly drops down. Maybe you start looking up. Inhale, expanding through the front of your chest and your belly. And then as you exhale, come back to your exhale home of that long spine, tabletop position. And then as you inhale, press into your hands and round your back to the sky. Maybe looking down at your knees or at your belly, inhaling through the back. And then exhaling back to your tabletop position, finding that long spine. And doing that a few times at your own pace. Inhaling, chest forward, belly down. Exhaling, coming through center, long spine. Inhaling, rounding through cat, maybe reaching your hips further back. Exhaling back to your tabletop position, long spine. Two more like that. Inhaling to cow, chest forward. Exhaling through your center, long spine. Inhaling, rounding your back up to the sky. Exhaling, long spine. One more. Inhaling, chest forward, belly down, hips up. Exhale, all fours, long spine. Inhale, round your back to the sky, tuck your hips a little. And exhaling, coming back through all fours here. Just going to come into a thread the needle position. So from our all fours long spine position, shift the weight into your left hand and pick your right hand up off the mat. And then start to thread it underneath your left armpit, in between your left leg and your left arm, and reach it through so much that your shoulder, your right shoulder, and the right side of your head maybe touch down on the mat. You can keep your hips high here. You can try to keep reaching that right hip forward and your left hip back to try to find level hips here. But the focus is finding that stretch through the back and the shoulder. Breathing here, you can have your left fingertips in front of your face, or if you need more, you can reach that left arm up to the sky. If you need more still, you can turn your left palm to the wall behind you and tuck the back of the left hand into your right hip crease or along your back. Breathing here, maybe pressing the right hand into the ground, the top of the hand into the ground. One more breath here. Then exhale, slowly bringing your left hand back in front of your face, pressing into the left palm, and start to reach your head and your shoulder back up. If you want a quick counter stretch, you can start reaching that right arm up to the sky, opening the chest here. And then release your right hand back down to the ground, resetting in our all fours position as we set up for the other side. Picking up that left hand, weight in the right hand. Start threading that left hand in between your right leg and your right arm, underneath that right shoulder. And start bending through that right elbow, sliding the top of the left hand along the ground until your left shoulder and head touch down. If that feels all right for you, pressing that left shoulder, left side of the head into the ground. Breathing here, maybe working on getting your hips level with one another, but the focus really is in opening through the back of the shoulder here. If you need more, you can start reaching that right arm up to the sky. If you still need more, you can turn the right palm to the wall behind you and start bending the elbow, tucking that right hand back along your back or into your left crease. Wherever you are, taking one more big, deep breath, expanding through the upper back. Slowly come back and in. Planting that right palm back in front of your face, pressing weight into that right hand so that you can pick yourself back up. Maybe counter it if you would like to reach that left arm up to the sky here, expanding through the chest. And then go ahead and plant both hands onto the ground. Maybe tucking your toes together to touch. Maybe widening the stance, the width between your knees. As you start sitting your hips back to your heels, you're coming into child's pose. If that's feeling really comfortable and you'd like to experiment with a little bit more of a back opening, you can walk your knees closer together, any amount. And then start reaching your hands forward, seeing if you can reach your hips to your heels as you reach your chest down, maybe dropping the head to the ground. Maybe wrapping your arms around to your feet, if that's comfortable. If not, maybe interlacing the hands along your head at the base of your skull, adding a little bit more weight there. We're just going to take a few breaths here, really filling up through the back body. Inhaling as full as you can, expanding through the back, the upper back, the mid back, the lower back. Exhale, let it go. Maybe open your mouth. 2 more breaths like that. Inhale, expanding. Open the mouth, let it go. 1 more. Inhaling. Filling up, biggest breath yet today. Open the mouth, let it go. Just find just 1 moment of stillness here. Noticing, checking in with yourself as you did in the beginning of class. Noticing where your mind goes. Noticing it almost as a third party. Just acknowledging where you are mentally, acknowledging where you are physically. Just noticing. Greeting yourself with some kindness here. Just knowing that it's totally fine. Wherever you are, whatever is going on, maybe start reaching your hands forward. Walking your fingers further closer to the top of your mat. Maybe reaching your elbows off the mat. And start hugging your outer arms or your triceps. Further engaging through those muscles. And having your triceps and those upper arm muscles reaching in towards your face so that you almost feel like you can hollow out your armpits. Finding that strength and that space here. As you pick your head up, maybe looking at your fingers, shifting your weight forward, coming up to your knees, tucking your toes here, and then as you start to pick your knees up off the ground, shift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. And this is our first downward facing dog, so you can take any adjustments or wiggles that you need. If your hamstrings are really tight, maybe give them a little pedal. Maybe if your hips are tight, give your hips a little shake, wagging side to side. Or maybe you're comfortable. You can always take child's pose instead of downward facing dog. But if it feels good, give it a try. Finding that engagement, just like you did in child's pose, through those upper arms, seeing if you can't find that hollow armpit action in your downward facing dog. Coming to stillness. Engaging through the backs of the legs, reaching your hips further up. Pressing each finger and the palms of your hands into the ground. Shaking your head yes, shaking it no, and then bringing your head in line with your upper arms. 1 breath here, filling up, expanding your entire torso, the front and the back. And then as you exhale, go ahead and look forward at your hands. And just slowly walk your feet up to meet your hands. Coming into this forward fold here, bending through the knees to get your belly on the thighs. Maybe propping yourself up with your fingertips if you need a little bit of support for your back. Or if you need more, letting your head drop, your torso drop, maybe adding even more weight, grabbing opposite elbows, and letting your torso hang heavy here. Wherever you are, breathing into the back. Expanding on the inhales, releasing on the exhales. And switch the cross of your elbows. If you grabbed opposite elbows. And then just release the hands down to the mat. Keeping bent knees here, we're going to slowly roll up to standing. If that's all right with your spine, slowly rounding up, stacking your spine here. Slowly come all the way up. Your head comes up last. Standing tall here. Engaging through the legs. Drawing those hip bones and low ribs closer together. Expanding through the chest. Reaching those arms down to the ground. Your head up to the sky. Feeling grounded. In your Tadasana, mountain pose. And sweeping your arms out and up overhead. And then maybe bringing your palms together and reach those arms just slightly out in front of your face. Wrapping those outer upper arms in. Feeling a little bit of that hollow armpit action, but feeling more of a stretch across the upper back here. Staying here if that feels good. Or start bending the elbows, drawing those upper arms parallel to the ground, and maybe gluing your elbows together here. Palms together, elbows together, elbows in front of your chest. Finding that action still, gluing your arms together, hollowing the armpits, but finding more broadness across your upper back. One more breath here. And then release your arms down by your sides. Sweeping those arms out and up overhead. And then walking your feet further out to the edges of your mat. Maybe turning your toes out slightly. We're going to come into a squat. As you exhale, bending at the knees, sinking your hips back and down, and then start drawing your arms down in front of your chest as you come into your squat position. If this isn't comfortable, you can always come into a forward fold. Or, breathing here in this squat position, you can bring your palms together or fists together and use the push of your elbows to open your knees further out to the side, if that's comfortable for you. Taking one breath here, finding a long spine, expanding through the chest. And then planting your hands down onto the ground, reaching your hips back up to the sky, coming into a forward fold. Maybe walking your feet just a little bit closer together. You can always have a wider stance in your forward folds if you're tight through your back or your legs. And then go ahead and step that right foot back to the back of your mat. Come coming into a lunge position here. Breathing into this lunge position. You can drop the knee if you would like, or keep that knee popped up, inhaling, finding a long spine, popping up onto your fingertips, and then inhale, reaching those arms forward and up overhead, and then sweep them down to bring your hands on your hips, bending slightly through that right knee so that you can have a long torso here, and then you can work on straightening that back right leg as you wish. Reaching the arms forward, and then wrap your right arm underneath your left to grab onto that outer shoulder, and then wrap your left arm around to grab opposite shoulders here. You can stay here if you'd like, or keeping those upper arms stacked, bring your forearms in front of your face. Maybe backs of the hands together, or you can do a full wrap, trying to meet the palms together. If you want the double wrap of the arms here. We're doing eagle arms with our lunge legs here. Drawing those elbows away from our chest, maybe further up. Finding a nice stretch through the backs of the shoulders. We'll take one big deep breath here. As you're ready, release your arms to your hips. And then let that right leg turn open slightly. Plant the right heel. Pick up those left toes. Start to straighten the leg. And turn the entire left leg in the same direction as your right leg. And if you need to reposition, maybe paralleling your feet with one another. Standing tall here in this wide-legged position. And then we're just going to take a nice forward fold, bending slightly through the knees, hinging at the hips, drawing that chest forward and down any amount. You can keep your hands on your hips. You can plant your hands onto the ground. You can grab opposite or outer edges of your feet, whatever you'd like. Just breathing here. Finding a long spine on your inhale, and then exhale, go ahead and let yourself round into it just a little bit, and then inhaling for the back. And then as you're ready, walk your hands forward, bring your hands to your hips, and coming up tall, standing tall here with wide legs. And then start to shift the weight into the toes. And can you turn your heels in and your knees out? Coming into this wide goddess stance. Bending through the knees, sinking your hips down into your goddess pose here. Bringing your hands to the insides of your knees and your thighs. Planting your hands on your legs, go ahead and start dipping the one shoulder down and then the other shoulder down. Feeling the stretch maybe in your hips, maybe in your legs, maybe in your shoulders. And just finding some movement here, whatever feels good. Staying low in your legs, just bring your torso upright. Hands on your legs, and start shifting your weight a little bit side to side as you play around with maybe the side lunge. And then coming back through stillness, straightening the legs, turning the right toes in, Swinging the left toes forward, planting your hands on either side of that left foot, picking that left foot up, and then stepping back to your plank position. Knees up or down. We're just going to flow through a little vinyasa here. So knees up or down, maybe shifting your weight forward, keeping those elbows tucked in to come to a low chaturanga, a low plank at the bottom of a push-up. You can always have your elbows out if you'd like. Just come all the way down to the ground. Walk yourself down. Walk your fingertips maybe further back to be in line with your nipples. Drawing those elbows together, back behind you, pressing your hips into the ground, pressing your feet into the ground. Inhaling, peeling your chest up off the mat to your low cobra. Feel like a snake. And as you exhale, release yourself down and come through hands and knees, and then tuck those toes under, and then pressing up and back, hips up and back to your downward facing dog. One breath here. And then as you exhale, draw that right knee into your chest. Plant that right foot in between your hands. Maybe walking the right foot out to the right if you want to find some more stability in between the feet here. We're coming into this lunge position. Knee up or down, whatever the left knee up or down, whatever feels right for you. And then coming up to that inhale, popping up onto your fingertips, finding a long spine. And then inhaling, sweeping your arms up overhead as you bring your torso upright. Your lunge, Anjaneyasana position. Bringing your hands to your hips here. Bending slightly through that back left knee if it's popped up. Finding some length through the chest. And then reaching your arms forward. This time the left arm underneath the right. Wrap your arms around your chest and grabbing your opposite shoulders. Right arm on top, left arm on the bottom this time. Maybe staying here. Or maybe bringing your forearms in front of your face. Back to the hands together. Or double wrap. Try to bring your palms to touch. Breathe in here. Reaching those elbows further forward, maybe up. Finding light through that lower back. And then finding openness through the upper back. One big breath here, filling up, expanding, biggest breath yet. And exhale. Release your arms. Plant the left back heel. Straighten out that front right leg. Pop up onto those front right heel. And then turn the entire leg in. So that your toes are facing to the side of your mat. And then reposition to make your feet parallel in line with each other. If that feels all right, staying here, hands on your hips, long spine. If you'd like to fold forward, any amount, hinging at your hips, bending your knees to do so. Keeping a long spine here. Maybe taking a different variation than you did before if you'd like. Finding the stretch with a long spine, and then letting yourself round into it. As you inhale, expanding through the back of your body. One more breath here. And then slowly finding a long spine, maybe walking to your fingertips, half lift, hands on your hips, slight bend in the knees to come all the way up to standing. Maybe turning your heels in. So popping the weight into the balls of the feet and bringing your heels off the mat, and then turning your heels in as you let your knees turn out. Coming back into this goddess, this wide squat position. Finding what feels comfortable for you. Maybe stacking the knees over the ankles, finding some stability there. Sinking low through your hips, finding a long spine. And then if you'd like to dip your shoulders again, you're welcome to do that. Or if you'd like to play around with your side lunge, you're welcome to do that. And if you really want to get into the side lunge, maybe widen your stance a little bit more and start shifting your weight to one side. You can bring your hands down to the mat, popping the toes of one foot up, and then maybe walking over, shifting to the other side, toes facing up, popping up onto that other leg. And just finding whatever movement feels good for you. Dipping the shoulders or walking yourself back and forth into your side lunge. Finding whatever stretch you need on the inside of your legs. And slowly walking yourself back in to your goddess position, that wide squat. Hands on your knees, standing tall, and then straighten the legs, standing up all the way. Turning those right toes to face forward, popping up onto the left toes as you start turning your chest forward to your left foot. Plant your hands on either side of your right foot. On either side of your right foot, stepping back to a plank. And then just running through your version of a vinyasa. Maybe what we did before, coming down to the belly. Maybe you want to stay lifted as you exhale to your bottom of a push-up. Maybe coming into upward facing dog, pressing just the hands and the feet into the ground. Wherever you are, finding your way back on your exhale to your downward facing dog. Walking your feet halfway up the mat, and bringing the feet to the outer edges of the mat. Maybe heels in, feet out, maybe feet parallel. As you start to let your hips sink down, coming back into that squat position. Breathing here. Sitting up tall at first, and then maybe rounding down, maybe wrapping your arms down and around your legs so the tops of your hands come to the ground by your feet. If you'd like to round down like that. If you need a little bit of a crow practice, you're welcome to take that arm balance variation now, or staying here in the squat position with the rounded back. Staying there, or planting your hands into the ground, shifting your weight forward, walking those knees up, your arms towards your armpits, coming up onto the tiptoes, shifting your weight forward into your hands, and then maybe bringing one foot off the mat, maybe the other foot. Rounding through the back here, finding length through your breath. And then as you're ready, go ahead and come back to your squat. And then just let your butt come all the way back and sit down to the ground. Go ahead and straighten your legs out in front of you, shaking them out. And then we'll just come into a little bit of a reverse tabletop position, planting the soles of your feet on the ground. You kind of want to get a 90-degree angle with the legs at the knees. So you want your feet to be like 2 feet away from your hips, maybe. The proportions are going to be different on everybody, but you'll be able to adjust as needed. Go ahead and swing your arms out and back to plant your palms behind your hips. Then you can have your fingers facing out to the sides or facing in towards your hips or anywhere in between. Planting your hands, planting your feet, inhaling, lifting up your hips, and finding a stretch through the front of your body here. You can always adjust if you need to walk your feet out or in. Inhaling, finding length here. Keeping your legs parallel to one another if you can, not splitting out at the knees. And then exhale, release your hips down. Go ahead and straighten that left leg out long and hug that right knee in towards your chest. And then let it fall open so that the right sole of your foot plants in to your left thigh. Sitting up tall here, trying to turn your torso just a little bit over to the left more so that your chest is centered over your left leg. And then bringing your hands on either side of your leg, start walking your hands forward to your foot, just coming into a nice fold here. First starting with the long spine to find length here. And then go ahead and round down into it. Breathing into the back body here, wherever you are. You can let your head be heavy if that feels all right. And then slowly start walking your hands back towards your hips. And we're just going to switch our legs. Go ahead and straighten that right leg out long along the mat. And start bringing that left knee in towards your chest. Letting that left knee fall out to the open. Planting the left sole of your foot on the inside of your right thigh. Sitting up tall. And then turning your torso over to the right just a little bit so that your chest is centered over your right leg. Sitting up tall here, hands on either side of that right leg. With a long spine, start walking your feet forward towards your foot, any amount, finding length through the spine here still. Breathing with a long spine, finding that stretch, finding that length. And then go ahead and round down into it. Rounding through the back, letting your head be heavy here. Breathing through the backs of the shoulders. Expanding through the back ribs. And as you're ready, start walking your hands in and finding that long spine again. Keeping that left foot in, go ahead and bring the right foot to meet the left foot. Soles of the feet touch, drawing the heels in as much or as little as you want to. And then sitting up tall, maybe wiggling side to side. I like to find my sit bones. You can feel those hip bones as you sit up tall with a long spine, maybe interlacing your fingers and then wrapping that around your toes to glue the soles of your feet together. And sitting up tall here, finding a long spine, folding forward any amount with a long spine. Maybe your elbows reach your legs, maybe not. Wherever you are, that's totally fine. Finding a long spine here though. Inhaling with that long spine, finding a nice stretch, maybe through the inner thighs, maybe the hips. And then go ahead and round down into it. Let your head be heavy. Inhaling through the backs of the ribs. One more breath here. And then finding along the spine as you start to sit up. We're going to take one more reverse tabletop position, and you can turn it into a reverse plank if you want, but we're going to set up the same way. So bringing those knees up to the sky, planting the soles of your feet onto the ground, away from your hips, planting your hands back behind you, fingers out or fingers in, whatever works for you. Pressing into the hands and the feet, inhaling as you bring your hips up, expanding through the chest, finding that reverse tabletop position. If you're really feeling it and you need more, you can start walking your feet out, finding long legs for your reverse plank position here. Straight legs, hips reaching up to the sky, rolling those shoulders open. Inhaling, expanding through the chest and the belly. And exhale, bring your hips down to the ground. Shifting your hips forward if you'd like. Getting ready to come down onto your back. However you'd like to roll down to get there. Maybe hugging your knees into your chest. Maybe rocking side to side or rolling little circles on the ceiling of your knees. And as you're ready, coming in through stillness, coming into your version of a Shavasana. Maybe on your back, maybe on your side. Just for a few minutes, coming into stillness, and just breathing in. To your body, just noticing how you feel. Notice what you're thinking about, where your mind goes. Closing the eyes and letting the breath come naturally. Releasing the muscles around your eyes and your mouth, unclenching the jaw, and letting your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Just noticing your inhales and your exhales here. Without controlling the breath, just notice the inhales and the exhales. Letting yourself sink deeper, giving into gravity here. You can always stay here as long as you want or need. But if you're ready, start wiggling your fingers and your toes, going to the ankles and the wrists. Maybe drawing your feet closer to your hips, knees reaching towards the sky. Maybe giving yourself a little hug here. Reaching that left arm long on the mat alongside your left ear. And then just let yourself fall over to the left, using that arm as a pillow. And pressing your hands into the ground and coming up to a seated position. We'll just meet in a seated position here. If you're not laying down on your back, closing the eyes, sitting tall. And maybe bringing your hands, palms together in front of your chest. Maybe rubbing them together, feeling a little bit of that warmth. And then maybe pressing your thumbs into the center of your chest. Honoring and respecting your body and your mind without judgment. And from that place of respect, I honor and respect your body and your mind. Or namaste. All right. Thanks for tuning in virtually. And thanks for tuning in. And as usual, these are all donation-based classes. I'll post in the description below where to find it. I put a link on my website where it's easily accessible. I'll click the link to get to the Venmo at Evweezer. And there's more meditation and yoga coming your way if you're interested. So go ahead and check out my website here. This is a link to the free yoga, but there's also more on there for starting some outdoor yoga and private sessions available. So take a look if you'd like. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.